Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Casa de Anime. Today we'll be covering Beastars, episode 6, Blurred Vision, Dream or Reality. Like and subscribe to Casa de Anime for more content. How'd you guys feel about that episode? Woo!
We get what I've been desperately dying to see, which is a glimpse of the outside freaking world. And the first thing we see from the outside world already is a murder. And I guess Legoshi and the boys were playing checkers as they saw it on the news about herbivore being murdered by a group of carnivores, supposedly. And after that, the herbivores are just straight disgusted, and they walk away from Legoshi and the other carnivores. And what'd you guys think about that?
It was interesting. They just generalized, like, it was like, are the carnivores not going to be upset over it too? Like, all right, like, I guess they're just not upset over it because they're carnivores. It's a little weird how they generalized and just were disgusted and walked away from them.
Yeah. They walk away sorry, what were you going to say?
No, yeah, like Aaron was saying, is like they're disgusted at it as well, but they don't even ask how they're feeling or anything. And like you can see once they walk away from them that Legoshi pats his friend on the head. He's like, everything's okay, bud. Like, don't worry about them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's no conversation like all together, like, damn, all that happened. It's just like, you know what, guys, let's just go. I'm kind of.
It's like because they're carnivores, they can't people think they can't sympathize with herbivores at all. Like, no, they're meals.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
And then right after that, we get the next scene of we finally meet Juno, who's another gray wolf like Legoshi, we find out. And what do we see? Her being bullied also. And were there carnivores bullying her also?
I think it
seemed like yeah,
it seemed like some kind of like eagle, and I forget what the other animal was, but it was definitely two carnivores, and they were just
I was gonna say it looked like two carnivores based on the other animal's teeth. He had sharp teeth.
So then we get more judgment. They're like, oh, you're a gray wolf, look at you. Like, and so just more of that playing into what people perceive about each other before even knowing them. Because she's new to the school too. So yeah. And it's crazy because, we see Legoshi finally, my man starts stepping up, and he steps in and he stops it. He thinks of a plan like, oh, this is my sister. And they're like, oh, you don't even look alike, which is kind of funny because he starts.
It's so weird that he came up with that plan, because I'm like, dude, you don't have to come up with a plan. Yeah, like, you're just a gray wolf. Walk up in there and just handle business. Like, you don't even need to say anything. They were shook to begin with.
He was bigger than them. He literally hovered over them. He was like, yeah, she's my sister.
Yeah, like, what? I didn't even believe that.
That all goes back to Legoshi just overthinking everything. But I mean, I am proud of him. He stepped up, and so we get to meet Juno, and we see a sad story of him pretty much telling her, "You're a carnivore, and this is discrimination. This is something."
Yeah, like basically get used to prejudice. Basically, get used to being discriminated against, which is like a very defeatist attitude, and kind of like depressing, because he's kind of right. It's like you probably are gonna have to get used to being bullied and being looked at differently, because nothing's changed.
This is how the system is, almost.
Yeah.
And she mentions that, like, since elementary school she's been bullied, and she's like, oh, I thought when coming into high school everything was going to get better. And he's like, nope, you just got to get used to it. By your sophomore year you'll be fine with it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's not like, oh, things need to change. It's like, yeah, just settle into your role.
I do like the fact that at the end he was like, he did encourage her though, like, the fact that you're not used to it is a good thing. Like, you should have some pride in yourself, and like, it isn't okay to get used to it. So he, like, at the end of the day, he did say, like, you having that, emotional response to it is good. It shows that you're still human and you still have, pride in yourself.
That gives him a little self-reflection too, as like, I'm used to this, but do I have to stay this way? Can things change? Beastar? But,
That is true. They're still preparing for things during their play or at the art club, and he encouraged her to join, and she was already part of it, obviously.
Yeah, that's funny.
So he feels kind of bad for not noticing.
Yeah, and it's funny how she's like, maybe we should get together more often since we're both wolves and everything. And he's like, oh wait, maybe I should not be so what's the word he used?
Formal.
So formal with her since she's another gray wolf.
Yeah, and it's cool.
Sorry, continue.
No, I was just gonna say, you see like that connection of because the world is so like categorized. When you find someone that's in the same category as you almost feel that connection, and you want to grow closer and not be as formal, and you want to just be friendly to them.
Because it's like, it goes back to the same thing. It's like, oh, you're experiencing discrimination? Oh, you are too? Oh, I guess we're on the same boat. And that's like a connection even of itself. It's like, to experience discrimination with somebody, or to experience the same discrimination, already connects you with somebody, because they gain empathy for you. And I think that's like one of the most basic things to friendship, is having empathy for the other person.
And so
yeah,
I was just gonna say, and so speaking of discrimination, we get into our next scene, and the teacher is telling the herbivores how, because of the incident, they're not allowed to go on the field trip, but carnivores still are, which is cool. But we see my boy Louie discriminating again against carnivores, saying, yeah, we know how carnivores get when we know how carnivores get in their nature. So I mean, this guy still wants to be a Beastar. No, why is he doing
it? I think the school was looking out for the herbivore safety, but it goes back to the whole thing. And Kenny, you can touch on this too, with like, you know, like when Louis talks about the black market and stuff, like, I think he's just kind of trying to see, like, you know, it's like you say something to somebody and you're trying to see like how they react to it. So I think that's why he's always like, oh, you're going to go back to your natural instinct, because it's like, oh, who the fuck is this guy telling me I'm going to do what I'm going to do? And then you usually do the exact opposite. That's how I feel when somebody tells me something like that. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. Fuck you.
Yeah, he's planting seeds low key. And honestly, I didn't even think about that. I think he was just probably planting a seed for them, seeing what they do. Yeah, he knows what they did during the play.
Yeah, he told them straight up. He's like, don't go to the black market. They didn't even think about it. Like,
they didn't even know what that was.
Market?
Yeah,
he's like, black market. What?
And so what happens after before that, actually, I thought something that was kind of cool was you see they actually world. The outside world, and how everyone's living together.
They've been together for a year.
Yeah,
like they haven't been outside in the outside world for a year, and I'm like, wow.
You see the birds flying. You need a flyer's license for that. So then again, that's another thing when you talk about restrictions and restricting these animals from their natural
from their natural habitats. I thought that's what you're probably.
Yeah, restricting them from their natural habitats. Birds need to fly, and you need a flyer's license to fly. So that's another thing when you talk about restriction. And so after this, where did these guys end up? At the black market. And
they didn't, but I was gonna say they didn't end up at the black market immediately. You remember?
Well,
they were eating somewhere, and they were talking. Bill was talking about how he got laid or something like that. Talking about another tiger. He's a tiger, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess he's sleeping with another tiger.
Yeah, and he's talking about like her stripes and everything, and then he's like, what about you, Logoshi? Are you gonna get laid anytime soon? I know you're a virgin still.
That's such a high school thing to, like, you know, pressure somebody into something like, oh, I know you're a virgin still. It's like, what does that matter to you? Am I having sex with you, bro? Like, get the fuck out of here. You gonna give me a girl or something? Like, what's going on with that? No, I always think that's like it's so high school too. It's like pressuring somebody into, you know, it's like experimenting. It's like, oh, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do
his
that.
own kind too, because he's like, I heard there's a new gray wolf in school, a freshman. Maybe we should talk to her. And they tease him. He's like, oh, you already know her name? Like, why does it matter?
Weird how I was gonna say that's interesting how they set that up, where they're like, oh, it's your own kind, you should definitely get involved with that. So I guess it's like interspecies relationships like are very weird or frowned upon, and they're not like necessarily like the thing to do compared to like sticking with your species, I guess.
We see that around the school a lot though, because of Aro though, because she's been sleeping around with everyone. So maybe it isn't. Like we don't see it out. We haven't touched upon that, I guess. In any
might be an anomaly. Who knows?
We don't know
she
yet.
has a lot of secrets. I feel like that we're still waiting to discover. So
Yeah. So after they're talking at the dinner table, we get to that scene where Legoshi goes down to ask the moose for for some advice.
the
Like, what was he
heavily
asking, where to
breathing
go?
moose.
Yeah. It was like this.
And so we see numbers, and I guess the cost. We see numbers on each finger.
Yeah, something like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we see the numbers, and Legoshi can smell the scent of like carnivore saliva, and it's on his fingers. So then you put 2 and 2 together. People have been chewing off his fingers, and he's been selling them at the black market, which we find out the black market is illegal, right?
No, it's legal. It's
illegal. We don't really know because
they mention it.
From what the panda was saying, it's like a legal entity, but it's like kind of frowned upon, but it's there for carnivores so that they don't start acting out and doing other things.
Yeah.
So it's like it's like not talked about, but it's there for the carnivores. And it seems legal because the hospitals give them the stuff, the meat, and they said
he said they do it under the table, like
under the table,
because he's like, it's really frowned upon because we get them from funeral homes and the hospital.
Yeah, but it's better than killing.
It's a hub spot for carnivores to get their fix almost. So that way, that's why when Legoshi's like, everyone seems to be operating in peace in the real world. And then we go to the black market and we get to understand a little bit more of why are these guys operating in peace? Because they can get their little fix at the black market and then come back out the closet later and be a normal animal or whatever, you know?
And his friends try to normalize it because they're like, guys, it's normal. This is here for our peace. Like, we have to eat meat. Yeah, and Bill's right away. He's like, "How much for the fingers? Like, I'll take a bite, like real quick.
We can all split them." Like, this
guy was quick on it. Didn't even let them discuss it.
But we see it, and that just it shows you Bill's personality again. And he's just like, "Hey, man, we're carnivores. I know this, and I know we shouldn't be doing these things out in public, but here's a spot. It's a safe spot where we can get away with it." And then go back and return to the normal world. And it's kind of like a gray area, you know? It's like, it's not like he's walking around campus like, I'm going to kill this person now.
I feel like Bill's like emboldened by being a carnivore, but that's because carnivores are so frowned upon that like he has to like force this pride upon himself to be a carnivore. So that's why he's always doing like these extreme things. Like he easily could have just walked into the black market and bought some meat, but he's like, I want to bite this guy's finger off because it's like a carnivore thing to do. Somebody's done it before. Like the most extreme thing instead of buying some meat like down the street.
Yeah,
like,
it's like they're cooking it and everything in the market.
That's what I'm saying.
This guy wants it fresh off the bone.
He wants the dirty meat, scream before I bite you, please.
Yeah, he said just finish it in one bite.
Yeah. And then we meet, I was gonna say, so Legoshi's running through the market and just getting slapped with temptation left and right. My man's
senses of blood, yeah.
And we found, he was found by, what's his name again? The panda? Gohin, I think. Yeah.
Gohin. But before that, he finds him. You just see him just drooling saliva. It's like I can't help it. Like,
and I think that's the part that hurts him the most. It's like my mind's telling me no, but my body. Yeah, but like I don't know. It's sad because it's like you can see like he's just struggling and he's trying to go against his natural instincts, and it's just hurting him. Like it's physically hurting him.
And the conflict in between all this, we constantly get the flashback of Haru, and she asks the question, how do you see me? And it's like, do you see me as fresh meat? Do you like me? Do you love me? Do you see me as a friend? That question can be interpreted in so many different ways. And then as he's thinking of her saying that, this guy's salivating at the mouth. So then we get the next scene of him passing out, and our man Gohin takes him in, and we find out he deals in psychosomatics, and he's almost here to help prevent carnivores that are going through what Legoshi is going through.
Mm-hmm.
And in the first, we see him, he's almost like, after their first interaction, they're kind of sitting down, having tea and talking. And I do want to point out that it is interesting that he's a panda, because pandas can be considered carnivores also, but they can mainly sustain themselves off of vegetation or bamboo. And so that's interesting that he's the one to be that kind of character and that guy to help set the record straight and help carnivores get in touch with the fact that, like Legoshi, he's in denial, and he's like, no, how are you thinking about this girl, really? Because this is what your inner instincts are telling you.
And back to, just real quickly with the panda thing, it definitely wasn't his first rodeo dealing with like crazy carnivores, because you get the flashback and then you see he chained up Legoshi like he was like really about to do something to him.
Mm-hmm.
Like he really chained him up. Like this isn't his first time dealing with crazy carnivores, you know?
So speaking of first time, Legoshi is a calm guy, but at the same time, when he was chained up, Goheen talks about, your heart doesn't seem to be beating fast, even though you're chained up. Is Legoshi used to that? Is that was just the interesting thing that he pointed out.
Yeah, that was a weird thing he said, because it was like, normal people wouldn't be used to that at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he woke up changed up, and like everyone would be, I would be freaking out if I was in chains and be like, what?
And we know he's a calm guy, but that was just something that kind of lingered in my mind a little bit. So then we see him and Goheen are sitting down and they're talking, and we see Legoshi's kind of in denial about everything that's going on. And Goheen just explains to him that, look, these guys were in denial also. These guys sat here and said the same thing that you're saying now. And look at them. They either ate their own leg, or their hair fell out because of stress. And it's just...
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say, back to what you're saying is, like, now we know for a fact, if you eat a herbivore, something kicks into your mind and it kind of messes you up. Like, you'll get, like, I think it's like basically it's like an ultimate hunger. Like, once you get the taste, it'll never go away, or your guilt will kill you. It's either the taste never goes away or your guilt kills you. And you start like...
No, sorry. I was just gonna say it's like an extreme dopamine release, and all of a sudden, once they have that, I'm assuming nothing else can suffice.
Yeah,
that hunger starts to slowly build. So
yeah. And I was gonna touch on the last thing. It's weird that at the end he was like Legoshi. It seems like doesn't have a father figure, because at the end he's like, you've never been in a relationship. Oh, it's a little weird. And then he gives him the bunny porno.
Yeah,
we want to call it that, because he's like, see how you feel about it. Yeah. Because he's like, if you actually are sexually aroused, then it means something. But if you're just sitting there just like, oh, I don't really know about this, then it means another thing. You just really want to eat her. So I think that's like a very interesting thing. This guy, like, it seems now more and more Legoshi doesn't have a father figure, or never did.
You really don't hear anything about their parents at all.
Yeah, you don't hear anything.
You would think, like, they've been in there for a year. Wouldn't you think they would go see their parents first before they go, like...
And we don't know Legoshi's situation. You remember, everyone in the drama club has a situation for the reason they're in there. So we don't know Legoshi's situation, which is a very interesting part of it. But,
so,
how would Louis know, though? Because he apparently knows everyone's situation. How does he know it?
Well, I mean, he's rich. I guess you have influence with the board. You can get people's personal information,
Yeah, we don't know what kind of pull his family has, which it seems like they have some type of pull for sure. So now, what's Juno's situation, But another thing I also want to point out is Goheen's quote to Legoshi, "So you put your mask back on." Legoshi talks about how he almost ate Haru, but he got over it, and now he's operating as a normal person again. But Goheen's just like, no, you just put your mask back on, bro. So it's like, you have to face this, Legoshi. It's something he's going to have to face, and it's just going to keep growing until he faces it. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, it touches on a lot of things, because it's like, this whole time we were thinking like, maybe, it's his natural instinct, but like, you put it perfectly, like, you're putting a mask on. It's like, if you're not going to confront what's deep down inside, like eating at you slowly, it's either going to eat you up or
It's
like,
gonna eat.
you're gonna fail or collapse somewhere. I don't.
Yeah.
Like he did again. Like he just collapsed in the middle of the
Yeah,
alley.
like literally just collapse. Like his hunger literally makes him collapse. Like that's when how you know it's like so strong. It's just he collapses from it.
It's psychological, and now we see it's affecting him physically, just like how other people's hair fell out and all that. So it basically Goheen does not want it to grow to a physical conflict that he has to fight. He's trying to fight it psychologically. So now we're gonna find out that will Legoshi become aroused from the porno that Goheen just gave him. So I'm curious.
Yeah. And probably someone's gonna find it. I guarantee you somebody's gonna find it. It always happens.
Is that your prediction?
That's my prediction for next week. The dog finds it, or somebody else finds it, tries to blackmail him for it or something. I was gonna say, you guys have anything else you want to say? Or
Abba was in the same situation as Legoshi.
Oh yeah, he was back. He was back at the train station waiting. He couldn't do it.
Yeah, oh, that was touching, man. He couldn't go through with it. And I think it was Legoshi in the beginning that made him think about it. Like him being angry, he was like, wait, Bill like is a little bit rushing it. Like we don't have to do this. Like we have food.
he said I thought about my herbivore friends and how I've been with them, and this just doesn't feel right. So at least we know Legoshi is now has someone else in the boat with him. He's not alone in the boat. So I'd like to see how that goes on moving forward and what decisions they both make together.
And it's funny how you bring up that situation right there. And Legoshi actually mentioned how growing up, maybe everything will be easier. And then you see later in the episode that growing up, there's just more challenges.
It's the same shit.
It's real life.
It's the same shit.
If anything, it's worse.
Yeah.
I almost relate it to like when we were kids and we're kind of like, oh, I can't wait till I'm an adult. Everything's going to be so much easier. And then you get thrown in the real world and you're like, oh, holy shit, man. I thought this would be easier. This seems harder, but it's just how things go. So they do a great job of portraying their inner demons and inner battles with them and their nature as animals, but then themselves, they're also going through changes. They're still growing up. They're not full adults. They're adolescents. So they do a great job of portraying both and trying to decipher which one is which. Are you just in love with everything because you're growing up now, Legoshi? Or are you in love with her because your convoluted carnivore mind is telling you to eat her when the moment is right,
This has been another review with Casa de Anime. Like and subscribe for weekly content, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode. Thanks for watching.
Later, guys.
Ciao.